Hey everyone, welcome. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a piece of tech that's basically the engine behind this new wave of AI. We're talking about the vector database.
Okay, let's just dive right in. We're all completely used to searching for exact words, right? You type in blue car, you get back results for blue car. It's pretty simple. But what if you wanted to search for a feeling or a vibe? How does a computer even begin to understand that? How would it know that the word king is really close to the word queen, or that a photo of a calm sunset has a similar vibe to a peaceful piece of classical music? Well, that's the exact puzzle we're going to solve today.
And the answer, my friends, is the vector database. The absolute best way to picture it is to think of it as a kind of magical warehouse. Now, in a normal warehouse, right, you'd organize everything by labels in alphabetical order. But in this one, you organize boxes based on the vibe of what's inside. So all the boxes with similar content or similar meanings get placed right next to each other. It doesn't matter what their labels say.
To really make this whole idea click, let's start by comparing it to something we've all seen a million times, a simple spreadsheet. So, over on the left, you've got your traditional database. It works just like a spreadsheet. Everything is super organized in neat rows and columns. You find what you're looking for by searching for an exact match, like a product ID. But look over on the right, that's the vector database. And here, I want you to just forget about rows and columns. Instead, imagine this vast multidimensional space, almost like a constellation of stars. Every single piece of your data, whether it's a word, a picture, a song, it's a star in that constellation. And its position isn't random. It's determined entirely by its meaning. So things with similar meanings all start to cluster together. And suddenly, finding something similar is as easy as just finding the nearest stars. In this world, proximity is similarity. And that right there is the huge shift. This is the whole game, we're moving away from simple keyword matching and into this incredible world of semantic search. We're searching for meaning. And this is what lets us ask computers more natural, more human-like questions and get back results that are conceptually related, not just a boring list of identical words.
Okay, so the concept makes sense, right? But this is where things get really interesting. The idea itself is pretty simple, but the engineering challenge to get it to work at the scale modern AI needs, it's absolutely massive. So welcome to what we call the Billion Vector Challenge.
You see, in today's world, just being able to do vector search, that's not special anymore. The real test, the big question everyone's asking is, can you search through hundreds of millions or even billions of these data points and find that perfect match almost instantly? And I mean instantly. We're talking about milliseconds.
So, how on earth is that even possible? I mean, searching a billion of anything sounds like it would be incredibly slow and ridiculously expensive. The secret, it turns out, is in this classic engineering balancing act. It's a trade-off between speed, memory, and cost. You just can't have it all. And this slide really lays out the two main ways to go. On one side, you've got HNSW. Think of this as the sports car. It's the industry standard for absolutely lightning-fast search because it keeps everything in your computer's fastest memory, the RAM. So if you're building a real-time recommendation engine where every single millisecond matters, HNSW is your go-to. But the downside, as you can see, is that it's crazy expensive. Now on the other side, you have disk-AN. This is more like the electric vehicle, way more efficient. It stores data on much cheaper solid-state drives. If you're building, say, an archival search tool where cost is the most important thing, disk-AN is the smarter fit. It's about 10 times cheaper when you get to a massive scale, and you only pay this tiny, almost unnoticeable penalty in search speed.
So once you've wrapped your head around the hardware, the next huge decision you have to make is all about people and operations. Do you want to build and manage this whole complicated system yourself? Or do you want to use a managed service and let someone else deal with all the headaches?
And this table here breaks down that business decision perfectly. A managed serverless service like Pinecone is just amazing for getting started. You have literally zero operational overhead, and it scales up and down instantly. The catch? Well, the cost for each vector can get pretty high as you grow. Then on the other hand, you can self-host with tools like Qdrant or Milvus. This gives you a much lower cost per vector at a huge scale, but that savings comes with a price. You need a dedicated team of expensive experts to keep the whole thing running smoothly.
All right, so we've covered the concept, we've covered the challenges. Let's try to bring it all home. What's the key takeaway here? If you're building an application today, how should you be making these kinds of choices?
Well, the industry consensus on this is surprisingly clear. For pretty much everyone, the answer is to start with a managed serverless option. The speed, the ability to get started quickly and not have to worry about the operations side, it's just too valuable. You should only really think about self-hosting when you reach a truly massive scale. And we're talking over 500 million vectors. Or if you have some very specific legal or security rules that force you to keep all your data in-house.
And part of the reason you can stick with this simpler serverless option for longer these days is because the AI models that actually create the vectors, the embeddings as they're called, have become incredibly efficient. And what that means for you is you need less data, less storage, and less computing power to get really great results.
And we're seeing some amazing new tricks here. For instance, Matryoshka embeddings. They're named after those Russian nesting dolls. They let you do a really quick, rough search with a small, simple version of your vector, and then use the full, detailed one to zero in on the perfect result. Then you've got techniques like quantization, which is just a fancy word for compressing the vector, and that can shrink the memory you need by over 30 times. All these little innovations mean the whole system gets cheaper and faster right from the very beginning. So, to wrap this all up, here's a really simple decision framework. Before you write a single line of code, just ask yourself these 4 questions. First, be honest about your scale. Not your dream scale 5 years from now, but your actual scale in 1 year. Second, define your need for speed. Is near instant absolutely essential, or is a tiny delay okay? Third, take a really hard look at your team. Do you really have that deep operational expertise needed to host this yourself? And finally, map out your budget. If you answer these 4 questions honestly, they will almost always point you to the right solution for your project.
At the end of the day, this technology is about so much more than just databases. It's opening up completely new ways for us to interact with information, to move beyond simple words and into the world of meaning and context. And that leaves us with one final, exciting question to think about. Now that we can finally search by vibe, what incredible new things are we going to think to ask? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.